entire globe involving hundreds of different cultures explaining the same phenomenon by different names.
The nature of the footprints, namely their remarkable consistency, their biomechanical appropriateness, those aspects that are extremely compelling.
Hi, everybody. Am I the one saying hi all the time? Oh, my God.
No,
I'm going to start.
It's okay.
Hey, guys. Welcome to the Bigfoot Influencers. We're so excited to have you. And you know what? We're really, really appreciative of our regular followers. Like, we just love it when you're, like, leaving your comments and see you guys chit-chatting back and forth and, just getting to know each other. And so we're just becoming, like, this one big warm family. I really love it a lot.
We love it. We love you guys.
Yeah,
we really do.
I really look forward to this. At first, I was like, oh my God, Tim, what are you getting me into? I don't know if I want to do this. And then I saw the people. I'm like, oh, everybody loves us.
Yeah.
And we
Most
love
people
you.
Do. Yeah.
And if you don't love us and you leave a hateful comment, we take it right off. So there you go.
But we don't get those actually.
Which
is nice. Yeah. So thank you guys for that too.
Yes.
We're real. Be honest with us always, but we appreciate you guys, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah. Because all we want to do is just introduce to you the cool people in the world of Bigfoot. Okay. We are not like the cool people in Bigfoot. We want you guys to know, because there's a lot of people doing a lot of different things with Bigfoot. And so this is your opportunity to get to see what's going on. And we have somebody super special today.
Yes, we do.
Like very special.
We do.
His name is Carl Crew.
Mm-hmm.
Does it sound like a movie star name? Yes. And when you get to meet him, you'll see that he is like a movie star. He's super cool, multifaceted guy. But, where does Carl come from?
So, Carl is the great nephew of Bigfoot royalty, Jerry Crew, the one and only Jerry Crew. So we're going to get hopefully we get a pretty good history lesson for those who may not. I think everyone knows who Jerry Crew is. And but Tim
always assumes these things. So Jerry Crew, the first thing you're going to think in your mind is that black and white picture with the guy holding a Bigfoot print in a newspaper. And that was back in 1958. Mm-hmm. So he was the first person to cast a footprint. And to give the name Bigfoot.
Well, yeah.
The newspapers did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so we're super excited to have Carl here on so he can tell you all about his great uncle and what he also does himself in life with Bigfoot.
Yeah. So let's bring him in.
Yeah.
You good with that?
There he is.
Hey, how you doing? How you guys doing?
You are a movie star, Carl. Look at you.
Get out of here.
Isn't he? You got a perfect you got the whole thing going on, honey.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Yeah, a lot going on here, Mr. Carl.
And he's got the color painting or photo behind him, the color version of it.
Yeah, that's so awesome. That's exactly what I was talking about. Yep. Super cool, Carl.
Yeah, that's colorized too, yeah.
Why don't you tell the audience about your great uncle first?
Okay.
Yeah, let's hear about his, and then we'll hear about Carl.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my great uncle, my father and my other uncle Jim logged the forest with Jerry in Mount Shasta, Bluff Creek. And my father was watering down the roads because the roads that they would carve into the mountain would get so dusty. It was just like so they would have to water down the roads. And he taught my uncle Jim when he was 60 years old to water down the road. So they were up there working with Jerry for a long time. And and actually later on, Jerry, my father worked his way through medical school. So he went off to medical school after a while, but Jim stayed there and he was hired by Peter Byrne along with my great uncle to hunt Bigfoot. And I got the honor of interviewing Peter Byrne like 6 times. I wrote a script, it's a screenplay, it's called The Print. And we're just doing the storyboards for it now. It's like, yeah. And the whole concept was, I'm sorry, I've heard so many people say all this garbage about, Jerry didn't name Bigfoot and blah, blah, blah. Like I mentioned that Jerry Crew's my great uncle. And they go, oh, yeah, well, that's a fake. That was Ray Wallace, blah, blah, blah. No, 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 no. I set out on a 4-year journey to uncover everything I could about it, including my Uncle Jim's like 50 years of yellowed newspapers about Jerry and about everything that happened. And like Peter Byrne, I interviewed Jerry's son, Wade Crew, and like, wow, it took like 4.5 years actually. So we're just ready. We hopefully will be in production by next year.
So what are you planning to do, Carl, with that? Are you planning like a film or a play?
Yes, feature film.
Oh, feature film. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's
and we need some good Bigfoot films, don't we? Like, it's such an amazing subject that we like desperately need like a blockbuster movie to come out about Bigfoot.
Absolutely. It's never been done. It's never been done. Not a big one. I mean, the last one was Bogey Creek, which my dad took me to see as a kid. You know, like, it scared me to death. But that was made for like $20 million. It by today's standards, it made $140 million by today's money. And so, but really, I have friends who made Bigfoot's Wild Weekend and all this crazy stuff. And like, I wanted to pare down all the legends and all the nonsense and tell the real story about what it is, what happened, and all that. You know, like Genzoli did not name Bigfoot. You know, I interviewed somebody who was a blogger on the site before he took the thing to Humboldt Times, and he was saying that Jerry came and showed me, he said Bigfoot was here last night, and he showed me the prints that went around his tractor. And so it was just kind of I've been around this stuff all my life. I met Jerry as a kid. He would come over and he would do these little tricks. He used to teach Sunday school to the Hopi Indians, and he always had some like little trick, talk to and keep their attention and stuff. And so I remember very, very fondly Jerry, man. He taught me to do the French drop, which is a certain little trick with a coin, And yeah, and my father was like that too. They're very, very cool people, but he had a lot of integrity. That's what Peter Byrne said about Jerry. He had the most integrity of anyone he ever met because he didn't drink, and he never stayed up at the site. Everyone else would hang up there in trailers and stuff, but he'd go back every year to Reading or every weekend because he had to go teach Sunday school. He had a lot of integrity, and a lot of crazy stuff happened to him. Like his wife burned to death. His first wife burned to death in their living room with her kids watching.
How did that happen?
Her robe caught fire when she was at the fireplace. Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible. So he'd been through a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's horrible, horrible.
But it was really fascinating to get all the letters. Peter Byrne turned me onto a gold mine of Bigfoot stuff. Letters that Ray Wallace wrote, and John Green talked all about it. Tom Slick, right? You know Tom Slick, right? The millionaire.
Why don't you tell people who could be like just entering the Bigfoot world for the first time?
Okay. Tom Slick was a Texas millionaire. Who knew Howard Hughes. He hung with all these different people. He was very, very prominent in the 50s. And he was doing stuff with Peter Byrne. He hired Peter Byrne to go up and control these people that were on the payroll that were hunting Bigfoot. And he came into Willow Creek and he fired like 5 of them. 2 of them were in jail. One of them was now living in San Francisco, and he actually, John Green, he called him up, and John Green wouldn't even get on the phone. He was so pissed off. And his wife said, well, he's not going to come to the phone. Well, just tell him we don't need his services anymore, So he fired him. And my favorite was Bob Titmus. Yeah. I'm not even going to go into what happened, but Bob Titmus was in a secret project for Tom Slick, so he couldn't reveal anything. And we go into what it was later in the film, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, it's hilarious!" Yeah, but there was so much deception, so many crazy people like Ray Wallace. Oh my goodness, wow! I mean, he could barely speak English. He could speak English, but he couldn't read or write. And he was like a hick, and And he was a trickster, and he loved always talking about UFOs and. The Japanese, they came in and they killed all the Bigfoot and they took them all to Japan and blah, 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 blah.
That's really,
Yeah. I have like 9 letters that he wrote, and I don't know if we'll be able to cover all of them in the film, but they're really, really indicative of his mental state. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to ask. So the film, it's going to be. Is it going to be just focused around that time period in this of the subject?
No, it's going to be overall. It's going to be based on the real story of Jerry, and it's going to have it's such a vast subject that we take him from the moment that he found the print till his death. And my father was a cardiovascular surgeon, but he had a gospel quartet. He played the trumpet. And on his deathbed, Jerry's deathbed, him and his brother Jim were singing to him around his deathbed. And and so we take it to that point, but then we go further and we explore all this other stuff that happened with Bigfoot, and and then we really go into detail about what is Bigfoot. People, oh yeah, he's alien, oh yeah, he's Nephilim, oh yeah, blah blah blah, all this crazy stuff. I don't believe that he's supernatural. I may be wrong, but I don't believe it because of fecal matter that it actually got some of it and had it analyzed by UC Berkeley. That was Peter Byrne and my uncle Jim. And they sent this into UC Berkeley, and they finally got something back saying, well, there is, we can't really tell what it is, but it's carnivorous because we found little bones of animals in it. And also has parasites in it that are only found in humans and apes. Okay? And I don't buy the missing link thing. We go into great detail about evolution, about macro and micro evolution. Okay, macro evolution, it's a religion. There's literally no fossils that show a transition of species. So even though it's been propped up by all these scientists for hundreds of years, oh yes, it's a religion. You have to accept that there's no fossil evidence. I mean, Nebraska Man, Lucy, all these different iconic. Oh, this proves it. No, it was a bone tooth. It was the tooth of a pig, Nebraska Man. I mean, everything has been debunked, been proven that it's not what it is. Oh, well, we'll just throw 100 million years into it and maybe it'll work out, So, yeah.
But what about Lucy? I don't know the Nebraska Man, but I think Lucy's pretty accurate. Or, what did you hear about Lucy?
Lucy still owed me $10.
Yeah, I bet.
Give me my money, Lucy. Give me my money, Lucy. No, it's totally fake. It's totally fake. It was proven to be a fake. I can send you articles on that. There's no transitional species. If macroevolution was real, there would be billions of pieces of evidence. There's zero. Oh, we haven't done deep enough. No. We've done very deep. There's nothing. Microevolution, that's completely different. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of examples of perhaps these dogs that were in America and dogs that grew up in Alaska. They adapt. They get stronger coats. They adapt to their environment. That's microevolution. That's real. Okay. And the thing is that I believe Bigfoots are human that went through microevolution because we go back to the 1700s and the new Madrid fault line that went off in the 1700s. Mississippi flowed backwards. Okay. The river Mississippi flowed backwards and the earthquake was so strong. And also in Oregon, huge building mountains were falling on those rivers, and the Indians were going nuts. I mean, they had to go into the woods, and run from their villages. And I believe through the fact that they lost a lot of the women, and there was interbreeding, and they were having to live in a completely different environment. They became syncopated with living like that. You know what I'm saying? And they became Bigfoot basically over a couple hundred years. I mean, this goes back to this.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
But I can listen to it and be like, I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah. I mean,
it's the first time I've ever heard anything like this. So.
Oh, I see. That's why I want to do this film because I never heard this. But for example, Gimlin. Okay, my great uncle drew the map that went through Al Hodges that was given to Patterson Gimlin, and who went there and got that footage. My great uncle drew the map. Okay, But Gimlin, when he was there, I hope I get to meet him someday. Yeah. Have you met him?
No, I've never met him.
Oh, yeah. I had some opportunities, and I hope I get to meet him someday, because I saw an interview with him where he was talking. Well, people were asking me when I was there. We were shooting Patty, which is the famous footage of Bigfoot walking that no one's ever been able to debunk because of the gait of the steps and everything. I had a gun. And they go, well, why didn't you shoot it? Why didn't you shoot it? He goes, well, it was going to attack me. If it was going to attack me, I would have shot it. But it was too human, he said. It was too human. Hello? So that just underlines exactly what we're putting forward with this film. Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, I like that. I like your theory. Yeah.
Well, and I think, and Carl, I don't know if it's
at first you started talking, and I was like, oh boy, we got a crazy one. But then I started listening, and I'm like, you know what? I can see that. See that.
The First Nation and some Native American tribes, they talk as they are just another tribe of people.
Oh yeah. Well, I was on another film with Thomas Seawood, I think. I forget his name.
Seawood, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He does Bigfoot. He does the cruises, and he's Native American. Yeah, he was very much on the same level. I mean, he was saying that they have shamans that go and talk to them, and actually have conversations as primitive as their conversation is. And, there is definitely a whole level of, it's a whole nother subject, but there's a lot of people that say they're Nephilim. You know what Nephilim is, right? What are Nephilim?
Nephilim are giants that were made. They talk about it in, actually, was it one of the Lost Scrolls, or was it originally in it's not in the Bible, is it?
Yeah, it is in the Bible, but it's also in the book of Enoch.
That's what I was thinking of. So basically, angels came down and reproduced with humans.
Right.
And they made these Nephilim, which were giants.
Right. And there's, we did I do a podcast, it's called Fourth Watch Files on Rumble. And we've done several, I do it with this guy, Brian Sadler, who's an expert on Nephilim. Also Gary, name is killing me right now. This guy's a brilliant expert on Nephilim. But there's so much evidence around the world of giants. I mean, that's hidden. America has been hidden, and they don't talk about it. They just take it down. And Smithsonian supposedly has giant skeletons in their basement, and they won't talk about it. Yeah. But because they want to keep you in the dark about the reality of what it is. Nephilim are real. I mean, they were real, and we go into some really crazy ones about these crazy animals, like the dragon or the dog-faced people in Egypt and all this stuff. That those were real entities. Those were Nephilim who were working with the gene pool and matching and doing experiments with genes in creating dog men and all this crazy stuff. All those things on the temple walls, they were real. They weren't fake. All these legends of the Greek legends of all these crazy animals, they were real. They actually existed because someone was screwing with the gene pools. Now, if you know anything about fallen angels and Nephilim, that's what they were doing. Anyway, fascinating stuff. I love it all.
So your philosophy is that aliens aren't messing with our genes, that fallen angels are.
Well, I don't believe that aliens are from another planet. I believe they're interdimensional beings, i.e. demons or fallen angels. I don't believe in aliens. And I've seen a UFO. I mean, I ran a nightclub called California Institute of Abnormal Arts for 28 years in Hollywood. We did. They called me the Barnum of Burbank Boulevard because I did so many freak shows. All the freak shows all over America performed in my place, and we had a museum. We had a dead clown, all this crazy stuff in my museum. And I saw a UFO right before a show. I was out in the yard, and I was like right there, like, oh great, okay. Who's going to believe me?
And you're in Hollywood, so that's another thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, right there it is, right there. And it's like, shoot. And I go, well, to me, it was like either hidden technology or it was demonic, because there are some say that fallen angels can manifest in any way they want to. In fact, I do believe that sometimes they could even manifest as a Bigfoot or anything that to steer you away from the truth. My Jerry Crew's oldest son, Hiram, he thinks that Bigfoots are Nephilim. And I'm starting to believe there may be some bloodline to it. Who knows? I have no idea. But they were saying, well, there's this guy that spotted this Nephilim or this Bigfoot, and then it disappeared. And then it came 500 feet down here. Bam, there it was again. How did it get there and there? It must have been some kind of wormhole or something. No. They travel in families. So the Bigfoot that you saw here was not the same Bigfoot as that, but they're traveling in a family. So easily explained, but who knows, but fascinating stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So that was really cool because we really got to learn about Jerry and what you're doing with the film. And I love how you're throwing in tidbits here and there about who you are and what you're doing and so that's awesome. So I think that we could probably move to the next question. What would be that? What did I don't know if you were like when this whole thing was going on, when your great uncle, went to the newspaper and he's got this print. Like, do you remember? Like, what is your family thinking? You were probably like really little.
Well, I'll tell you
alive. Were you even? Yeah, you were alive. Okay, sorry.
No, not in '58. No, I wasn't alive.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm looking at you like, dang, because you
look
guys
good
in
if you're a boy at
Hollywood,
58.
man. You got it all together.
How about?
But I grew up around it. So I mean,
So what was in their minds? Like, how was this talked about in your family?
With reverence, and my father. Okay, for example, I'll show you. I have one scene in the movie I'm going to tell you. I was in 4th grade, and my father was cardiovascular, so he used to pick, sometimes he'd take me to school, drop me off, and he dropped me off one day for 4th grade, and I said, I'm going to do show and tell today. He goes, what are you going to do it about? Bigfoot. You go, okay, well, you have a good time, blah, blah, blah. And I went and I did it, and everyone laughed at me, and like the teacher was, well, this is totally fake. But I was like in tears. And I came home that night, and I went to bed, and my father was so cool. I was on the 3rd floor of this house, right? And my father would come in at night in the basement, coming back from rounds at the hospital. And I said, Dad, you should hook me up an intercom from my room so I can know when you get back. He goes, yeah, no problem. And he did it, right? He didn't tell me he turned it on though. So he comes in one night, and like I'm going to bed, and he's like, he goes, what's wrong, Carl? I said, well, no one believed me at school. I talked about Bigfoot and about Jerry, and they said it was fake. And he goes, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter what people say when you know the truth. And he goes, hold on. And he walked out of the room, and he came back in, and he showed me the plaster cast, one of the plaster casts that Jerry made. And he goes, your great uncle did this cast. They're real. And he said it on my dresser. I'm like, I couldn't believe it. And like he goes, and then what he did, he was so funny. He goes, and he prayed with me, and he okay, go to bed now. And he turned off the light, and I was like, wide-eyed in the room. I got my flashlight. I went over and looked at the print, and I'm like, wow. And all of a sudden, a Bigfoot scream, and I'm like, ah! And I ran over to the bed. I was like under the covers, and he comes up from the basement. He goes, "That was me. on the intercom." Yeah,
because he could hear you on the intercom. That's so great.
It was so awesome. Great. I love my dad so much. But
is your dad still around?
No, he died in 2018.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I know where he is.
He sounds like a fun guy.
He was so much fun. He was so much fun.
So cool.
He would take me to Jaws, and he gave me a hot dog in my hand right at the point where the leg falls off, and I'm like, like he has such a great sense of humor, And actually, he was an inventor, and he was involved in curing flesh-eating bacteria. There's all kinds. If you type in flesh-eating bacteria, Dr. Crew, he was a spokesperson for a company called Nutriphase, which was an anti thing that you just made from white blood cells. He actually cured people of flesh-eating bacteria who would have had their arms chopped off. Yeah. So he was always involved in creating stuff. He created these things that opened the wound during surgery so you could operate and all this crazy stuff. And his room in the basement was like a mad scientist laboratory. And I was like, wow. Yeah, I was like thrilled, But he was really cool and very respectful, very respected. And I asked him, I said, what do you think, Dad? And he goes, I never saw them, but I smelled them and I heard them, and I know they're real. And I said, yeah, okay. Wow. And the irony is Jerry never saw them.
Okay.
He only heard them, smelled them, felt their presence, and found their tracks. My uncle. Go ahead.
Yeah, were people thinking that it was a hoax, the print? Like, I mean, I'm sure, but I mean, about that?
Yeah. They are confused because what happened was when Ray Wallace died, all his kids made the announcement, oh, Bigfoot's dead. And it went global. Oh, Bigfoot's dead. The guy who created Bigfoot died, blah, blah, blah. And, I mean, I'm talking about all the news stations, like Shep Smith and everybody was yap, 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 yap. Oh, yeah, it's dead. It was all fake. And then a year later, oh, no, I sent you some pictures. I sent you a picture of the Ray Wallace print and the Jerry Crew print. The Ray Wallace print was carved by somebody, a friend of, a so-called associate of Ray Wallace, who was after him for years later for, making money off it. But it was so deep, it was so carved and artistic, this wasn't organic at all, right next to the organic one. And it's even Jane Goodall came in and said, no, the Bigfoots are real. Okay. So after a while, it was like, oh, you're not too fast, not so fast, So, truth wins out, baby. Truth wins out. And so, yeah, but I mean, I posted a couple things about Jerry on my Facebook page. And like, oh, Jerry was a fake, blah, blah, blah. He would totally fake those things. And I put that picture up and they go, oh, yeah. So it kind of cuts that. And that's what I love to do is like to shine a light on stuff and show the truth, show what really happened. Let's not mess around anymore with all this. Oh, they're aliens. No.
So Carl, was the prints that he cast, were those the first ones he came across?
Well, he came across them. This is great history. He couldn't believe it. One of the things we start out was when he arrives on August 25th, 1958, at his site where his tractor was parked. And there they were. And he was like, someone's punking me. This is not real. This is not. And he followed the prints and they went over the side down the steep hill. I was like, how could that be? And so he'd show people and people were like, yeah, we've heard of this, and about a month later, he went into town. He was walking by a taxidermy shop, and that's where he met Bob Titmus. And he was like, yeah, I've seen these prints, and it was, they're probably fake. He goes, don't you know how to do a plaster cast? No. He sold him a plaster cast kit there. Bob Titmus did. And so he always took it with him. And he was out there one day, there it was, and he did it. And he kept it for a while. He didn't know what to do. He thought, well, should I go to town? I don't know. He finally went to town to Humboldt Times, and he met Genzoli. And Genzoli said, okay, well, I want you to stand there and smile when you hold it. He goes, no, I'm not smiling. I'm not going to smile. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. And he wouldn't smile. And so that famous picture was like, and yeah.
I like that. Look at what I got.
Yeah. Well, it was more like, look at it. Yeah. It's like he was.
Yeah. It was like, not, yeah.
He was serious. He was absolutely horrified at when it went viral in 1958. Like 2,500 calls came in the first week. It literally went all over the world. First time a story like that went viral. And Jerry was horrified. He's like, and he went into the, you should get in here. He went in to see Genzoli and he showed him all this crazy stuff. And he goes, what have I done? So he was a very humble man, very humble man. He actually had 3 horrible accidents. One, just, it's so dangerous being a logger. Very, very dangerous. I mean,
especially back then.
Oh yeah, even my Uncle Jim got really hurt one time. He got this tong came and knocked him down, and he had to go to the hospital and everything. But Jerry, the tong hit him in the face and broke out all his teeth. But then the second accident was he broke his back. He got thrown and it broke his back. He was out for 6 months, and he finally made it back. And he was like, "Oh, I'm so glad to be back." And then he stepped on a giant rusty nail.
Oh,
And, it's like his wife was freaking out. And he finally, when he was at home recovering from that, he started studying books on how to be an engineer because he was always very mechanical. He could always fix anything. And he literally became an engineer for Boeing. And he got a job. He quit logging and he went to San Francisco and was an engineer for Boeing for a while.
That's amazing.
that is
so cool that he did that. I mean,
yeah. It's like
I think it's something that runs in the family, Carl.
I believe it. I think so. I mean, he's so cool, and he was.
Yeah, we were talking about Carl's got all these jobs under his belt and everything that he's done. So that's
well, I used to have an antique store in the Haight-Ashbury.
right.
I sold like neon clocks and jukeboxes and slot machines, but that was right after I did a mortician for 5 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like you guys did anything.
Well, whatever.
I mean, heart surgeon, for God's sakes. I mean, that's like
by the grace of God, baby, amen.
By the grace of God, yeah.
yeah. But
that's
then
so cool.
Then I started making movies, and I did that for like almost 35 years, and
super
ran the
cool.
club.
I have a question because I don't think that before we were talking about how what are Bigfoot, where do they come from, blah blah blah, and so I just wanted to make sure I understood this. So your theory is they are humans who have been evolved into their environment.
Right. Yeah.
That, I mean, when you think about it, it makes sense.
It makes sense.
But that's it would take a long time, I would think, to.
Well, there were hundreds of years. I mean, it goes back to the earliest wild man in the woods sighting that was recorded was from the 1600s. In some rare newspaper, and in 1700s, wild men in the woods were they were reported, and then it went into the Sasquatch named by the Indians, and it kept like that until 1958 when it was renamed Bigfoot.
I'm just wondering, is that enough time for
evolution?
Yeah, well, you got to be careful. You're so cute. Evolution, I love that look. Evolution.
I'm waiting for you to answer.
Microevolution is it takes a while. You adapt, and I mean, it's some things adapt quicker, and some things adapt. But get the idea of macroevolution out of your mind, because it's like I say, it's a religion, and every single piece of evidence has been proven fake, but people refuse. I was very interested because there was these evolutionary scientists, and they were saying, well, we don't care that the things are fake because we can't let a divine foot through the door. Meaning they will not acknowledge there was an intelligent designer. So we're going to throw 250 million years in there and maybe something else happened. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't believe Earth is hundreds of millions of years old. That's a whole nother subject. But but fascinating stuff. But I grew up around the Bigfoot things all my life, and it was just to a certain point where I realized, well, I'm a writer, and I need to tell the story. I need to get this information out because there's so many people that have a damaged view of the truth of what really happened. And so that was my goal. Yeah.
That's so cool.
That is awesome.
That is super cool. I'm sorry, go ahead, because I know you have questions.
I know, but I just forgot the question because I got so interested in what Carl was saying.
I asked some good questions.
Good questions. That's right.
Yeah. So I guess, I mean, you got into this early, obviously, because it was just in your blood. What did people think, as you were getting involved in it, into the subject of what they think of you?
Well, I've always been a strange. I mean, I grew up in the theater. I was like, I had to tone myself down to come to Hollywood because theatrical is, like I learned to project, and people can stop yelling. I'm a child. I'm not even yelling. If I was yelling, you'd be deaf. Okay, and but I don't know. I mean, I've always been attracted to hidden history. And I studied hidden history on my own for years. Stuff that's fake, stuff that's put out there that's not real, or stuff that's hidden on purpose for a specific reason. And I've always I was a book collector. I collected so many books. You know, the whole conspiracy thing. I used to go to these things called what was it called? It was something in Hollywood. It was called, I can't even remember, but these speakers would come and speak, and there'd be tables and tables of the weirdest conspiracy books you could possibly. I was like, I was just buy them all, you know, and so cool. And I used to feast on that, and yeah, it was very interesting. But you have to really be careful when you have to have a truth board. In other words, you have to have something to compare it to, so you know. I mean, and I don't know what you believe about the Bible, but the Bible has always been the truth board for me. And you hold something up to the light of Scripture, and you say, "Oh, there it is." It's like a light that comes on. You see all the cockroaches. Yeah. Oh, okay. I get. And so, you know, I mean, we studied a lot about the UFO cults and about the you know, any kind of aberration. I grew up in San Francisco, which is a hotbed of craziness. You know. Yeah, but I've always people, you know, they weren't amazed that I was involved in any kind of
right.
Okay, that's Carl. Okay, yeah.
So I actually have a question for you, because you kind of brought up the whole thing of, you know, his hidden history and what would be the reason behind the hidden history. And sometimes things are hidden on purpose. Do you think there is something or some entity or some government, something that's trying to hide Bigfoot from being out in the open?
I think for a while they were just trying to keep a lid on everything. I mean, I have an article from the FBI that was saying, yeah, Bigfoot exists, and this came out in the 70s. So they're slowly acquiescing to it. They just want people kept in a dumbed down for whatever reason.
Well, why do you think will be the reason behind hiding Bigfoot from us? Like,
I don't know specifically, but they want to keep people like sheep so they can be steered in any direction they want them to go. So they don't want them knowing too much, you know. So
yeah,
I mean, who knows? I don't know everything. I mean, I'm just
asking your opinion.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, what do you think would be the reason that the government wouldn't want us to know that Bigfoots exist? What do you think the reason might be?
Good question.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, like I say, I don't think they want people thinking that much.
In general.
Because I mean, look at this. Look at the
because
state
if
of
they start knowing that Bigfoots exist,
right,
and that they're real,
right.
Yeah, but I don't really see how that would affect the government at all. Maybe the logging industry, maybe.
It's the logging industry is pretty much, you know, it's not like anything what it was anymore.
Yeah, I mean, so what could it be that we wouldn't need to know, that we just have an undiscovered animal here in North America we didn't know we had before?
Yeah, I don't believe it's an animal though. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, or an undiscovered human. What do you call it?
They're still discovering. They're still discovering native tribes all over the world that have never even seen humans before. Yeah, I mean, like,
and animals too.
The panda was discovered 100 years ago. You know, these things. I mean, it's so funny because in the 1800s, all the scientists got together and said, "We have discovered everything that could possibly be discovered in the whole universe." And then 2 weeks later, quantum physics was discovered. So it's like God is laughing so hard. You know, the pomposity of man to think they know everything it's sad. It's really sad, because you have to always leave it open for, you know, what you don't know, because we have a finite mind.
Well, Carl, even what you said earlier about hairy man reports in the news going back to, written documentation back to the 1600s and microevolution. Well, it could have been going on for many, many years before then, but we had Native Americans here, so that wasn't getting written down anywhere. So it could have been going on for a long time.
Yeah, it could have been going on for thousands of years, for all we know. Yeah. Do you know?
Well, but, you know, there's sightings of Bigfoot type creatures all over the world.
Yeah,
not just in North America. You know, So
they could just be wild humans.
Thank you. That's exactly right.
Right, like a wolf is wild.
Mhm.
And a dog is not wild. Dogs have learned that they need to depend on us,
Well,
even though
the
they'd
dogs
probably
have
be able to.
become microevolution. They have
Yeah.
they've been trained. Yeah, fascinating stuff though.
So-
That is.
So what is it about that area where Bluff Creek is? I mean, you mentioned the Hoopa Indians there. I mean, what is it about that area that makes it so interesting of regards to this subject?
Like I remember going, my family with another family went and we rented a houseboat on Lake Shasta one summer and got to water ski all over there. And another time we rented this creepy old cabin. I remember it was painted all white. It looked like a powdered, scary house. Like it was so cool. And I never heard anything or when I was a kid, but it's my family has always been involved in natural, how can I say this? Animals. So in fact, my great uncle, my uncle Jim, he went on to work at Steinhardt Aquarium, and he was hired to save all these birds of prey that are hurt and nurse them back to health, and then release them. And he worked with giant snakes. My father used to take me over to the Steinhardt Aquarium when he worked there, and he'd take me behind the scenes. He'd show me the gar, the needle-nosed gar that he'd be feeding, and you get to swim with the dolphins.
That's so cool.
But they're just all like that. In fact, my father's father, Ralston, he worked. He was a World War II pilot, and he actually died when my father was 13 years old from it was a throat operation that gave him the wrong anesthetic, and he died. But he worked for William Randolph Hearst, and because he was in the Department of Agriculture in California, and William Randolph Hearst asked him to procure some wild Arabian horses for him, and he did that. But he would say, "Hey, come on, John, my dad, we're going up to the farm." He goes, "I grew up on a farm. I don't want to go to a farm." He didn't know it was the castle.
Right.
But he got to go there a couple times later and swim in the pools. My dad did. So but they've always been involved in the natural history of everything. And in fact, the only thing I ever inherited was from my great aunt in Nevada. Was a blue heron, a stuffed blue heron.
You still have it?
No, not anymore.
Oh, okay.
I had it in a big case for years and years and years. But it was so typical crew, typical, yeah.
So
anyway,
Jerry was your grandfather's brother. Is that correct?
Right.
Is that
right?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So right now you're working on a film with with the subject of Bigfoot. But do you also do any of your own researching? Like, do you like to? Are you out in the woods? Are you casting, or is this basically where you're doing most of your Bigfoot stuff with your film?
Well, we haven't started production yet. We're going to hopefully be in pre-production in a few months. Everything is set up. We have distribution. We have everything. We haven't really started casting yet. We have ideas. We've done all the storyboards and all the analytics and stuff. So when it happens, it happens. But I can't wait to get out. I'm so super
excited about this. I'm excited about this, Carl.
John Sasquatch, he did the Humboldt Bigfoot. I don't know if you've seen that on. Have you ever talked to him?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
Anyway, he did this whole thing. He came to my institute and interviewed me about Jerry Crew it's called Humboldt Bigfoot. It's on YouTube. And
okay.
I'm going to be bringing him on the production as an expert. But also, cool. Ken Gearhart.
Yeah.
Yeah. We know Ken. We love Ken.
We just saw Ken.
We just saw him in Washington.
He came by the club with Jax. They were both on Missing in Alaska. And I gave him the tour. And one part of the tour, I show him all this crazy stuff, and I show him the head of Bigfoot, which is fake. But then I started talking about my great uncle, and they freaked out. They go, "Jerry, are you kidding me?" I got a great picture of him.
That's super cool.
Ken is really cool. Yeah,
Ken's really into history.
Yeah,
like the Bigfoot history, and
I love it. I love it.
So much stuff. Yeah,
he's a very smart guy. A zoologist too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's at the zoo right now.
I know. He's so cool. His black hat.
Yeah.
I'm so honored, though. I'm so honored to have got to talk to Peter Byrne before he died. And he was, They called him the Don Quixote Indiana Jones because his history with hunting elephants. He grew up in the tea fields of Ceylon. I mean, this guy, you couldn't joke with this guy because it was just an air. It was an air of respect.
It was almost like the king. Yeah, like
exactly. Yeah. And I was just taking notes and recording everything. And like, I was so happy. Like, I got to talk to him like 6 times, 3 major interviews. And
that's super cool.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I was fortunate enough to interview him for my book, and and it was just cool. It's a cool experience. I mean, it's just you've got history. That's your Bigfoot history there. It was pretty cool.
Love it. I got so much information from him, and there's so many pockets of research that he turned me on to. That came in really handy when I wrote the script. And
so Carl, I'm sorry, Henny. Do you have a name, like a title for your movie?
Yeah, it's called The Print.
Print. Ooh, yeah, that's great.
The Print.
I sent you a temporary poster.
Tim gets everything.
Yeah,
I just do hair and makeup and show up and just. I'm just the entertainer.
Right.
He's the
no, I'm not.
I think what are you crazy? No, I asked some pretty good questions.
You show her the it's a sample poster. We did several, but it's events. Some of that belongs to the distribution company, what they say, but I've been doing graphic stuff for 1,000 years. So
wow,
I am so excited about this movie. We need good movies, Carl. This sounds like it's going to be awesome, like super cool.
So realistically, though, you would, if everything works your way, when would you like to have the movie out by?
By the end of next year.
Oh, okay. That's pretty quick. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to go into hopefully in production the next few months. Start pre-production. I'd like to shoot and get up. We're going to be doing some shots, of course, in California, Bluff Creek and Pure Woods, and but pretty much everything else will be in studio. But but there's definitely we're going to be shooting at Willow Creek Inn, the Willow Creek restaurant, the Bigfoot museum up there, and it's going to be amazing to go and just be there and just breathe it. I love the woods. I love redwoods. I love all that stuff. And I used to go to Santa Cruz all the time, and just the redwoods there. You just feel like you're in prehistoric times.
That's what I was saying to Tim. Yeah, when we went to Washington and Oregon just a couple months ago, because we live it's like a different planet here on the East Coast along the ocean, but the trees and all the ivy and the moss, and it's just humid and wet all the time. I mean, I'm like, this is like Jurassic Park. It literally felt like you were just prehistoric. This is crazy.
If you ever make it to Palm Springs, it's kind of boring. But take the tram up to the top of the mountain, and my head exploded. The trees, the smell of the trees will blow your mind. There's one tree there that smells like butterscotch.
Ooh, how does that happen?
It's the bark, and they named it. But I couldn't believe it. The smell was overwhelming. I was just thrilled, man. You never want to miss that if you have a chance to do that.
Yeah, I totally.
Little heroin going up this tram, way up the
hill. I can imagine.
So, if I had to ask you, what's one thing you would want people to, just in a few sentences, if you had to sum up the impact or the historical impact of what your great uncle did on the subject, what would you say?
Well, first of all, he named Bigfoot, and I sent you an article too. But also that he was a truth teller. And he was very much respected by everyone, including Peter Byrne, including these people. So he wasn't a liar, and he wasn't a drinker, and it was just it's a history. It's a bit of history, and I love history so much. And I just want to tell the truth of what really happened. Yeah. So just that he's a truth teller. Yeah.
Of course he is a truth teller. Like, that's just a crazy thing.
Yeah.
I mean, who wants to come forth with something like this
Well, Ray
You know.
Wallace.
Well,
Well, you know
who
what I
is it?
mean.
Yeah.
Like, what I mean, it just blows my mind,
Yeah.
and especially sometimes when we talk to people, and it's like, why would this person come and tell me this stuff?
Yeah, because he didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't for financial gain, right?
Mhm.
It's not like he was out
Absolutely
there.
not. He was horrified.
Yeah.
The thing is, that book, The Abominable California's Abominable Snowman.
Uh-huh.
I was like, somebody said, "Oh yeah, you got to read this book," and I think you interviewed him and stuff, and he's one that Genzoli named Bigfoot. I was like, no. I was only making comments. No. I was making comments on your show. Yeah, like,
yeah. We talked to a couple people, and I think there's still some. I don't know if anyone's ever said definitive that, but I think most people say that was Gonzoli. I'm trying to think what Daniel Perez said to me, but when I put, actually it's probably in my book right here. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's but it's where the California legend starts. With
oh yeah, that's right.
with your great uncle.
Yeah, and we really loved your point of view as well. Everybody's coming from a different place, and they have a different point of view. And sometimes you're like, that's why it's important that we continue to listen to each other. Even though we might be going through craziness right now, in the world, in our country, it's important to just listen to each other, because sometimes people say stuff that makes sense.
Right. Well, so, when you research something, you make a conclusion, but then you wait until you find corroborating things that link to it, and like the Gimlin thing that I told you about and stuff, underlining my concept of what Bigfoot is, and then you can start having more faith and believing that, okay, so it's true.
Yeah, and you know what? For me, it makes a lot of sense.
So when did your great uncle pass away?
It was 82, I believe.
So what did he think of the Patterson Gimlin film when he did he ever talk about that, or have you heard?
I will tell you this. I have I'm in possession of these rare tapes of Jerry speaking at a conference, and I haven't listened to them all yet, and we're going to put them in the film. But it's him actually speaking about this stuff, and I don't really know. I have to talk to Wade about exactly what he thought about the Gimlin. I mean, because like I said, he drew the map for them. I have another letter that was sent to me by Wade, his son, youngest son. It was a letter from Titmus, Bob Titmus, that said, "Okay, you're right, they're real." Because at first they were saying, "Yeah, it's all fake." No, you're right, Jerry. And so I don't know, just piecing all this stuff together, but it's like a puzzle. It's really cool.
So, Carl, how can our viewers follow you?
Well, I do a podcast on Rumble, and it's called Fourth Watch Files.
Fourth Watch Files. And then what is, like, just real quick, like, what are you doing in this pod? What are you talking about?
Oh, we talk about all kinds of stuff, from Nephilim to UFOs to Bigfoots to all the stuff that's strange and weird, and is art evil? And we talk about the mesmerism. We talk about the vaccines. We talk about all kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah.
Okay, and that's on Rumble. Okay, and then are you on any social media?
Yes, I'm on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook, and blah blah blah. I try. Okay. I'm so busy. I try to stay away from it, but I maintain a lot of friends are on there from my.
Yeah. Also, people are curious to see like when the film's going to come out and stuff like that. Do you know? Or,
well, I can't tell you yet, but a lot of it's
follow you. They'd be like, "Oh my God!" Like in 6 months, they'd be like, "Oh, Carl's about to, finish this thing," or I didn't know if there was a way.
Believe me, you'll know it. You'll know it. It's I have a huge. It's the irony is I worked for so long in Hollywood, and I met the biggest distribution person I've ever met the moment I leave, and we've been working together for about a year, and he's like, "Yes," and cool. He's believing it's going to be a franchise, like part 1, part 2, part 3. Who knows? We don't know, but I'm really excited about it because the truth is going to be told, baby.
I love it. The print.
And Carl, this was such a fun and interesting and informative interview. I'm glad you did this.
Humbled to be on the show.
Oh my gosh, Carl, you are so fun and awesome. Yeah,
this is great.
Hopefully one day we'll get to meet you in person.
Yeah, it'd be great. Well, I'm actually gonna attend a couple of Bigfoot conferences. I'm not sure which. I got to meet Meldrum. I got to meet some of these people. I really want to meet Gimlin, and we'll see.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I don't think Bob. I think Bob stays pretty close to where he lives.
Right.
I don't think he travels much anymore. But we
Yeah.
can give you plenty of ideas of conferences to go to.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're going to be at.
Yeah,
There's
you
a really
have
good
to
one.
when we're there.
Oh yeah, there's a really good one coming up with Dr. Meldrum and Ken Gearhart.
Oh, I saw that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
gonna be. Where is it gonna be?
North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
North Carolina,
Yeah.
for east of the Mississippi, they have some sightings there. So
Yes, they
you know.
do. Absolutely. I've seen a map of America that shows all the different sightings. It's pretty.
Ohio, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, right? They're
Oh,
everywhere. They're not here in Delaware, though.
Yeah.
They're not here.
I'll send some to you.
They're so tiny. They're like, we're not going to Delaware.
Not enough acorns to use.
There's not enough space here for us.
Okay,
We don't
yeah.
have space systems or
We
just
have
don't.
nothing.
It's flat
We have
here,
the beach.
flat and water. If they want to surf or not even really surf here, but they want to get some sun on
Yeah.
the beach, then they can come
There
here.
you go.
So,
Beautiful. Well, I look forward to meeting
Cool.
you guys someday.
yes.
Yay, Carl. Thanks so much for
All
coming
right.
on. We really
Likewise.
appreciate it.
Thank you so
All
much.
Great day.
Take care, Carl. Thank you.
Bye, Carl.
Oh, he was cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
And vivacious. We
yeah,
need
it was fun.
very
Kept me-
cool.
yep.
We learned a lot for sure. And I'm
Yeah.
so excited about this film
Oh my
coming
gosh,
out.
yeah. We
We
there's
need some good Bigfoot
some
films.
good ones that have been done, but there's a lot of not good ones.
Yeah.
That,
Sometimes you're
so-
excited and you turn on, you're like, oh Lord.
Yep.
But I'm sure we're not going to have that with Carl because he is a master at a bunch of stuff. So
it
I'm glad
sounds
that
like
this is going to be
a lot
cool
of
too.
fun. So we thank you guys for
Yeah, we
tuning
do.
in.
We appreciate it.
And make sure you head on over to the Untold Radio AM network, like and
Mhm.
subscribe, come to the Bigfoot Influencers. You can find us on all the social media outlets. You can go to the website, and we appreciate each and every one of you guys.
Yep. So have a great night. Thanks for joining us.
Until next time.